This is Unique Smiles, the Facial Paralysis Podcast, and I'm your host, Brian April. I am super excited for today's podcast. My guest is a New York Times best-selling author, beloved television broadcaster, one of the biggest podcasters around, a barbecue guru, a member of the WWE, NWA, and National Wrestling Halls of Fame, and a 3-time champion against Bell's palsy. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to talk to the one, the only Mr. Jim Ross. JR, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule today.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, JR, you're currently touring the country and you're doing Slobberknocker Sessions, which is a Q&A and meet and greet with fans. And you have one upcoming Friday, April 6th at 10 a.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn, New Orleans Airport. Tickets are $85 and available on ticketfly.com. And included in that price, you get to attend the session, an autographed copy of your book, photo opportunity with you as well, and a bottle of JR's Family Barbecue all-purpose seasoning. How excited are you for this event coming up?
I love the intimacy of the 100. We have 100 tickets for sale. So I love the fact that we've got, it's just a small group. I tried it out before we brought it to New Orleans, and it worked out beautifully. Because everybody, even when you're in line, you're already in the venue. We all know that we're here for the same thing, in these things. So, everybody gets a free book and the Q&A, the pictures, and the autographs. So what I'm basically saying is that every ticket for us is a VIP ticket because you get everything. And that's what we're only doing 100. So you're not rushed through. You're not hurried. It's just a more relaxed, memorable experience. Hopefully, that's the idea. So ticketfly.com is your ticket source there, and there are not many tickets left. I will be honest about that, but there are some. And but the easiest way of finding out, just log on to ticketfly.com and check it out. The Slobberknocker Sessions, the Friday of WrestleMania week.
And we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth too. But one of the things that's in this package deal is your autobiography, and it's called Slobberknocker, My Life in Wrestling. Now, this book has reached #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list. And if people can't make it to New Orleans and still want to get a copy of this book, where can they find it, Jim?
Amazon is a great source, among others. Amazon UK, Amazon Australia, and of course the primary Amazon account for North America, etc. So Amazon's good. The Barnes & Noble stores, when they can keep it in stock, they have it. And I'm trying to think. Books A Million, another book group. There's a great place in New Jersey, Bookends, in Jersey, and they have some autograph copies left, I'm told. So, and they all ship. So you can get the book and never leave your house, basically. And then it's available in ebooks. And then I read the audio book myself, which is very challenging, by the way. And not that I don't need a telephone here, but it was a hard assignment because I had to read so much personal stuff that we'd written. And it was my wife's death is only about a couple months old, so it's a little bit challenging at times. So, but Amazon, Barnes & Noble, normal things, and then I'll have books at all my appearances. They're selling my book at the Superstore Access for WWE, and I'll have my book at all of our appearances as well. So, we'll try to make it available for you, and I like to sign them. It's always fun to sign them. People are funny, they're bold. Would you sign it in blue and write this? Sure, buddy.
Like it's a classic.
You bought it. It's your book. I'll be happy to help you out here. But it's just funny, when I asked my first wrestling autograph, my hand was shaking like a leaf. And I remember just saying please and thank you. And I don't think there's even much more to the conversation than that. But, now they tell you what they want you to say. And I've got some damn many cliches and stuff I've used over the years that, it wasn't fair for this guy, so he wants that on his autograph or his book, whatever. So it's fun. It's fun to talk about stuff like that. It makes you feel like you contributed a little something along the way.
I've actually listened to the audiobook because I just like hearing it from person, with their personality, and that way I don't have to read into it. And what I really liked about the book is it's not just about wrestling. I mean, there's a lot about wrestling, but it's a story about overcoming adversity and achieving your dreams, which is what this podcast is all about. And I think it's great that you don't necessarily have to be a wrestling fan to enjoy it. There are a couple of stories in there which I think are worth the purchase price alone. I'm not going to spoil them, but I'll say there's a story about two 600-pound brothers that I think is extremely funny. There's a fascinating chapter about meeting and working with Muhammad Ali, which any sports fan should absolutely want to get into. And my favorite one, I have to tell you, as a stand-up comedian, I don't laugh out loud at a lot of things, but your story about driving to Louisiana with your boss in a loaded 44 Magnum, I had to pause that and rewind because I was laughing so hard. So,
thanks. Hey, that's a true story too, and the book has been shopped. I'm meeting the fellow in L.A. We our third meeting about maybe doing a movie or a TV show on Slobberknocker, and stories like that. You can on the audio book. You shut your eyes, you can see that whole scene. It's easy to visualize, and you probably wouldn't write it if you're writing comedy. But under the circumstances, knowing who all the players are and who they were and what they were, it was just perfect, and it works like a champion. And so a lot of those stories, and they're just real stuff that actually happened. The two big twins, and all that. It was hideous. The things that you did, and it was so un-HR like, It's just, it would never go today. I mean,
right.
You'd be in jail or something, or somewhere. You'd be someplace, somewhere you wanted to be, I would think.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's good, though. It's fun. So I'm glad you enjoyed that. And I'm always interested in hearing from people that actually heard the audio book, because they seem like they have a deeper understanding of what I was trying to say.
Absolutely. And I think it's, part of it is you can just hear when you emphasize certain words or when you're telling the story, and you really, you've been a storyteller for how many decades, and it really just paints the picture wonderfully. And if that story doesn't sell a movie, then I don't know what will. That's such an amazingly funny story. One of the compelling parts of the book, especially for this podcast, you have gone through 3 bouts of Bell's palsy. And I was wondering if you could tell us maybe a little bit about your first case.
It was Super Bowl Sunday, making it toward the end of January 1994. My wife, Jan, was a flight attendant for U.S. Air, and she was taking a train from Connecticut, where we lived. I was working for WWE at the time, and we lived in Wilton, Connecticut. So I woke up one Sunday morning, getting around. I was going to go pick her up at the train station from getting off her trip, and I noticed that my face was hanging and my, drooling on one side of my mouth. It was kind of ridiculous, and I was really my eye was just staring. It was just I wasn't blinking, and I wasn't. It was just not good. I had a migraine-like headache. My hearing was sensitive as hell. So I went to a minor emergency clinic, and like many people who have asked me over the years, JR, did you have a stroke? No, I didn't have a stroke, but I might if people keep asking me about the stroke. But no, I haven't had a stroke. I've had Bell's palsy 3 times. So, but I went to this guy, and he diagnosed me he said, I think you have Lyme disease. So, I didn't have Lyme disease. So the next day, when my wife came home that night, the next day we went to a neurologist in Greenwich, Connecticut, and diagnosed me with Bell's palsy. And, then 2 months later, I got relieved of my post. Because, nobody knew anything about Bell's palsy, and nobody's going to, it's a touchy thing when you have to cut somebody from the herd because they can't, under the circumstances where my face was, and in my speech pattern, there's no damn way I should have been on TV. It's uncomfortable. I get it. I didn't want to watch myself either, even in those days. When I came back, and I still had some strong remnants of it. Scary thing to have doing what I did for a living because of two things. One, you're in the wrestling business. First of all, it's very unique. It's different, no doubt. I love it. I always have, always will. It's been challenging on marriages, my health, and all kinds of things, but I have no regrets, not one, other than I wish I could have stayed healthier and not have had Bell's palsy 3 times. But, guys with a southern accent like mine, with, round cheeks like mine, and they can't smile like me, are not supposed to be doing broadcasting to any degree. And I've done CBS boxing, I've done MMA, I've done boxing on Fox Sports, I've done a lot of things since I've had Bell's palsy and since I've not been doing wrestling every week. So somehow I have been able to survive ageism, Bell's palsy, and a lack of a cheerful little smiling face, and I made it. And I always believe the reason I made it is because I remember my dad said, quitting's the easiest thing in the world to get good at. And I just refuse to acknowledge my shortcomings, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
And that could be ego, too. Maybe I use my ego or my insecurities as a defense mechanism. But by God, I'm staying in the game. And, if I just want my jersey back because I know I can play. That type deal. So it's... And I like being competitive at my age, at my stage of life. I realize I'm on the back 9 here, but so be it. That's life. I'm blessed to be alive, man. So I have a whole different attitude, especially when I've gone through 3 bouts of facial paralysis. It has threatened my career. It has put me in some embarrassing situations, but none of them killed me. And I shrugged it off, at least in public, more often than not. So it's a part of my life, man. It's part of my journey, and I know that I've had these for a reason. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's helping other people. I don't know, but I refuse to let Bell's palsy or anything else define me. And I think that's the key thing. You got to maintain your confidence and hold out the fact that you're going to get well. I still believe I'm going to get better someday. Probably won't, but there's no proof of it. There's no medicine for it.
Right.
But I still believe I'm going to improve someday and wake up and my grandchildren, who's in the 9th grade and the 6th grade, will see their grandpa smile for the first time, other than a photo. So, I still got that motivation.
And that's the important thing. I think that's the important thing, the attitude and the love of what you're doing and the love of life. And I really love what you say about that. And I think that's so important to just happy to be alive, keep doing what you're doing and keep doing what you love. And when you first got that, what kind of helped you get back to work? Because like you said, you're in an appearance-driven industry, kind of like stand-up comedy. I was like, well, I'm done the same way. Nobody wants to see, Quasimodo telling jokes up on stage. So what kind of helped you get back into work that first time?
Well, my wife she had no fear of that. She did. She kept it to herself regarding my future as a broadcaster. Again, like I said, you got to be a special, right place, right time to make it under the circumstances I brought to the dance. What I brought to the equation were not known as the most sellable, attractive facets to have. It wasn't. So I had to overcome other things. I think I've been successful in that regard, of not quitting and working diligently to get better. And I was always, I always thought I was unique because of the way I did look and the way I did sound. But I was mostly unique because I had passion. And the same passion that made me this ridiculous wrestling fan at various times of my life, to the detriment at times, quite frankly. But it wasn't the business fault. It was my fault for prioritizing the business of a family. I did that in a couple of marriages. Not good. Not proud of it. But I acknowledge I made the mistake. I acknowledge it was a mistake. And I learned from it. And I don't know how else to handle it. I'm not saying that flippantly or cavalier, like, well, it happened, don't tell. I don't know what else you do. Yep, I messed up. Yep, I learned from it. Nope, ain't happening again. All those things are true. So that's where we are with that. So I hope they discover something. I wish they could flip the switch or give me a shot or something that was not so invasive, it was and risky, and et cetera, to let me get my smile back. But at the end of the day, if I don't get my smile back, then I'm going to continue to move forward, because I will always find something that my skills or what I perceive to be my skills will fit. And right now I've got plenty of projects ongoing, with WWE stuff. I do Friday nights. I do wrestling voiceovers for Access TV's New Japan Pro Wrestling show, and they're getting ready to have a big live event coming up in about 10 days on Sunday, March 25th, I believe it is, live from Long Beach. I'll be broadcasting that from ringside, live, no net. So good old Mark Cuban and his money, I love him and it. I'm very lucky. I can tell you this, that the fact that, Brian, I am the two guys that pay me to work and do what I love. I never worry about finding my check in the mail or it's cashing. Between Vince McMahon and Mark Cuban, I'm covered. I'm good. So very blessed. So, like I say, that just speaks again to my spirit and how I approach issues like we have had to do with facial paralysis.
I had a question for you. I'm not overly familiar with the process. There's a facial reanimation surgery which wouldn't be effective for me. Have you heard about that or looked into anything like that? Or
I have not. Okay. I have not. Here's what I've basically come to terms that this is the hand I have been dealt for now, and I don't put a lot more stock in it other than that. I'm kind of like, okay, well, that's kind of what it is. So.
Well, I figured I would throw that out there in case that was something that could help.
I'm always researching. I'm always Googling and that kind of thing. I haven't run across that, but I haven't looked in a while. But I'm not unhappy with what I have. I can't be unhappy with what I am.
And I think that's important. I think that's the most important thing. So your first bout was 1994. You recovered, you went back to work, and then in 1999, you get your second bout. And this time, this happened while you were broadcasting live on the air. And I was wondering if you could kind of just paint the picture of the chaos that's going on in that moment.
Chaos going on is in my mind because I'm becoming very confused, very scared, very insecure. And I'm the lead broadcaster on a live broadcast in a hugely important region of the world for my company. And this whole thing was sort of my mind was filled with uncertainty and fear, quite honestly. My head started throbbing. And then I had the hearing. Your hearing becomes hypersensitive, and I'm wearing headphones with the damn levels jacked up to do my job better. And it was a very uncomfortable situation, I can promise you. And my eyes started watering, and it was horrible. It was just terrible. So, but it's the unknown. The first time I got it, it cost me. I think it indirectly, because of my unknown condition and how I was going to get better, the company couldn't go forward with me in that role. I get it, and it's business. I got that. I have had to do a lot of these things myself that are unenjoyable. The second time I got it was, my wife called me the day before, or that day, and my mother had died suddenly at 64, and that was a very stressful thing for me, and my dad had already been dead for 2 or 3 years. So now I find myself without parents. First time that's ever happened in my life. Wasn't ready for that. And then, you go out and do a live broadcast, expect to do well. You set a certain standard for your work, and you want to deliver, and all of a sudden, it's like being stepping out in front of traffic. I just got ran ass over. So then we got back, and I went back to the neurologist and Palsy again. It got me on prednisone, but it was a very severe case of the palsy, a little heavier than the first one, and the other side of my face. I was thinking, man, I dodged one, but I had a little crooked smile, but everything else is cool. Now on the other side of my face, that's screwed up. I may not get out of this one, with my career alive. Luckily, I didn't do enough research on it to find myself afraid. I do believe sometimes ignorance is truly bliss.
I can't imagine like that happening while you're at work and just threatening, feel like it's threatening your career. One of the things that I found really interesting, and I'm curious of your thoughts on this, is to get pulled back into work and be requested to go on air with Bell's palsy in your condition by The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and Steve Austin, who are, for people who don't know, two of the biggest stars of all time in professional wrestling, and they've transformed over into Hollywood as the two of the biggest actors. They wanted you to call their WrestleMania match, which is the Super Bowl of wrestling. And your chapter about going back to call that match, I think honestly that hit me harder than anything in your book, because you were essentially describing me. You were basically narrating my life before I went back on stage for the first time. And I'm sure, thousands of people who went back out and faced the public for the first time with that going. Could you just share a little bit of that moment before you went back on WrestleMania?
Well, apprehension. I had to fight my way through it. Again, the old man's mantra, he told me in the ninth grade, was quitting's the easiest thing in the world to get good at. And I wanted to quit that day and just say, look, it's just not meant to be. My health is not good. Something's wrong neurologically. I can't keep having this stuff, man. And, it's breaking me down mentally, too, because I was, deep depression the second time, because things seemed to stack up a little heavier. And doctors were mystified having Bell's palsy twice. Once they saw the face, and to top that off, I have it a third time. So I was afraid, but I wanted to finish the journey. I figured that would be my last match, to be honest with you. There were times during that day that I would have bet you anything I owned that match tonight with Rock and Steve would be my last one. So I tried to call it that way. I had to hold my face up to enunciate because I was still drooping. And it took a lot of balls to walk out there and in front of a sold-out arena and on global television, looking like he had a stroke. And I was self-conscious as hell of that. But I barreled through that deal. I had to. Because I think if I had quit and not gone through with it, for all intents and purposes, I would have found that quitting is easy to do, and I think I'd have done more of it. But I had my dream job, and if you want it back, you got to go play for it. And that's kind of how it came down in a nutshell. So I did it, and I'm sure I could do better work, but nonetheless, my heart was in it. And the bottom line is this: Austin and Rock were two of my signees, two of the guys I was closest to, still am. But the bottom line, who made that happen was Vince. No different than last year when I did the Undertaker versus Roman Reigns match, right. The last match of WrestleMania. That's a McMahon call. And it's romantic to talk about the boys and Undertaker, and they have a say. Don't get me wrong. They have a say if it's brought up. If it needs to be addressed, they'll certainly have a take on it. But the bottom line at the end of the day is Vince McMahon says yay or nay, and he's been very good at how he's booked me over the years. So I'm proud of that aspect of it. But I never thought of failing. I guess I had it in my mind. I couldn't spit it out because it would sometimes depress me because I didn't know if I could succeed again. But I never spent a lot of time dwelling on failing. I just tried to unload the failure from my wagon if I'm going on a trip. It don't make the carry-on. Ain't going to take it.
That's a great mindset, and I think great advice for anybody who's kind of going through paralysis right now, or just anything in life that's struggling. We only have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure we get back to the Slobberknocker sessions really quickly, because in those sessions you're doing a lot of meet and greets, you're doing a lot of things with pictures. a lot of people struggle with the way they look and meeting people in public and pictures and things like that. But did going out for that WrestleMania match, did that, and being embraced warmly by the public and the crowd and your coworkers, did that help kind of change your mindset towards people that you meet or taking pictures, as in people who like you are going to generally like you regardless?
I think my journey's been well documented. So anybody that's going to be a fan of my work or know who I am from a name identity standpoint, at some point in time they were a wrestling fan, and so they've seen my metamorphosis over the years. I was doing some broadcasting when I got the first bout of Bell's palsy. Just starting out my run there, I'd already done WrestleMania 9. It wasn't like I was I was getting late relief duty in the mop-up division. It's such a back, and I had to restart so many times, and that can become very challenging. But that's the key to survival sometimes, is being willing and able to restart. Because sometimes it seems like it's impossible. I can't get back to where I was. Look, I don't know that I'll ever have the great smile, the TV smile. But look, man, I'm 66 years old. People say you smile with your eyes. We love you still, JR. Nobody cares about that. They know. And, in my tone, when I talk to them, the fact that I look them in the eyes, the fact that I call them by their name, the fact that I care about who they are and why they're there and where you come from and, what are you going to do this weekend type thing. And then engage in conversation is something I enjoy. And it's something I feel like I need. And I think it's a great example for anybody that has facial paralysis that I've the courage to go out and be on TV, not looking your absolute ideal best, is what it is. And maybe, like I said, ignorance is truly bliss. I know it's challenging, and I've been told that. How do you do it? I don't know, blah, blah, blah. I never looked at it that way. I just feel lucky I'm back. I'm still in the game to some degree, and nobody that hired me lately cares about the fact I can't smile. There's probably not another broadcaster in the world on television that cannot smile.
And that's why you are one of a kind. And JR, thank you. Before we let you go, again, you have a upcoming Slobberknocker Session Q&A that's Friday, April 6th, 10 a.m., Hilton Garden Inn, New Orleans Airport. Tickets are $85. It's a great VIP experience, and you can get tickets at ticketfly.com. There's only a few left, so get there really quickly. I also want to plug, I know you're a barbecue guy. I'm a big brisket guy. I know you have barbecue products. Where can we find some barbecue products?
www.shop.com is probably the most blanketed answer because they can ship, pretty much anywhere. We are working on some unique opportunities to get into grocery stores. It's challenging. It's an interesting story to tell somewhere down the road, but the www.shop.com has our products, and we're very proud of them. The original sauce was my mother's, motivation. It was her basic taste for that. She made from scratch, and then my wife and I came up with the chipotle ketchup and the jalapeno honey mustard, which has a gram of sugar. And then, so we got the seasonings out of this world. So we got really blessed with some things. It's a small niche thing, and I'm doing it. I'm going to keep it alive to see it through because my wife and my mother are such big parts of the fabric of it. So I don't want to quit on that project. So we're going to continue to hustle it, and finally someday we'll get grocery stores and people will find it out for themselves. It is as good as we say.
Lastly, what is your social media where people can follow you when you make your big announcement for your new home for your podcast site?
Probably it'll be on, there'll be a story on my website at jrsbarbecue.com, the world's loneliest website, by the way. And then it'll also be on Twitter. Then it'll migrate to Facebook. I'm on Facebook at Jim Ross BBQ, and I'm on Twitter at JRS BBQ, JR's Bar BBQ. And All full disclosure, I'll post some stuff on Facebook. I look at it a lot. I keep up with some of my buddies on it and friends. But the Twitter's all mine. So if there's something really, really stupid, I can't blame it on anybody else but me.
Perfect. Well, JR, thank you so much for coming on today, taking time out of your busy schedule. Truly appreciate it. And this has been a fantastic episode. And I hope to get to talk to you in the future. And one of these times I'm going to come see these Slobberknocker sessions, because it's something that I'm dying to do. So
let me know. We'd love to have you.
All right.
Appreciate you having me on. It's a very worthwhile topic and subject matter that you address. But the bottom line, folks, sometimes we can't define why we got a hand dealt to us. We don't know why. And you can chase your tail for an answer, and all you're going to do is run around in circles and get wore out, fatigued, done. I know it's simple for me to say, it's simple for anybody to say, and then to do it is a different thing. But you can't get too sweaty over things you can't change. It's not worth it.
Absolutely.
It's not worth it, man. And so my condition is, I can look at it a lot of different ways. I prefer to look at it as it just makes me more unique. I sound different. I look different. I am different. And sometimes being different isn't a bad thing whatsoever.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for being on Unique Smiles podcast. We will talk to you soon. And again, thank you so much for everything, and continued success.